Spoilers and offensive content to come.
I'm Carlos.
This is Dave.
This is the Carlos Dave Anime Rave.
Coming to you from where this time?
We are, now, people who listen to our podcast, Two Fat Guys Talk, will know that our recent episode on The Legend of Zelda, take a listen. We did that on international waters because we escaped the Gargowan prison island. I think that was the bullshit name I made up. And we are on a fan boat in international waters. Now, a combination of that fan on the fan boat and some storms that have just been surrounding us on all sides might lead to a bit of background noise. It certainly isn't because it's been just blisteringly hot where we are and we have fans going. No, we are on international waters. And we thought to ourselves while we're floating here that it's time.
It's been many a year since we thought about this show and anything other than, oh god, not that again.
In the year of our Lord 1995, Japan poisoned the world with a thing called Neon Genesis Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion is a perfect example of what artsy people think makes good fiction, but what ordinary human beings recognize as garbage. It is symbolism for the sake of it, without any real purpose. The creators of Eva have admitted this, by the way. Interpretive storytelling that is so interpretive that there's no basis for thoughtful speculation. It is artsy to a fault. It is so up its own ass that recently the dub and the subs had to be redone for them because the producers of the show in Japan thought that English audiences laughing at it was more due to the localization and not to the fact that Eva just kind of is, ridiculous at a fundamental level. That said, I would be lying if I said that Evangelion didn't occupy some kind of space in my mind since it came out, because I want to like it. I want to root for its characters. But it's infuriating. The protagonist of the series, Shinji Ikari, is a hero, in my opinion. He is a flawed hero. He's a messed up hero, but a hero nonetheless. And Hideaki Anno, because of some mental illness, when he brought out ending number 2 to the series, the end of Evangelion, decided, Shinji's actually a piece of shit and we're going to be out of character with him. And this has been a lot of my consternation with this show, is the fact that I view Shinji as a flawed but heroic person, but the creators do not. And this has led to a lot of frustration on my part whenever I think about this series. To the point that last time I said that I'm ready to close the book on Evangelion. That the next movie, which we're about to watch, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time, or whatever the fuck it's called, this is it.
Well,
no matter how this...
This is it.
No, but I mean, if there ends up being another remake or a sequel or something in the future, I'm not watching.
You're out.
I'm out. Even if you can joke about it, if you want to be like, no, I'm going to make you watch, I'll be like, but really I'm not.
Oh, no.
I am closing the book on this better end well, because I don't care. Bad or good, or in between, I am done with Neon Genesis Evangelion after this movie.
I can respect that. It is now 27 years later after it came out.
God, we're so old.
That dates us. That definitely dates us.
Wait. Yeah, it is 27 years.
I got my dates right.
God damn it.
So...
what have I been doing?
Now, Carlos, you asked me a question about...
Yeah, how long is this fucking movie?
I want you to guess.
Now you're laughing, so I know it's going to be a time that I think is stupid. Is it 2 hours? What do you mean longer?
2.5 hours. Carlos is holding his head, regretting every action he's ever taken to get him here.
Well, if this shit is 2.5 hours, Dave, we're doing this in 3 parts. This is part 1 of 3.
Sounds good.
I'm okay. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
No. Let's do it anyway.
Okay, let's start this son of a bitch up and let's do this. I'm just going to pause it here for a second, just mention that this is actually the second of the 2 dubs.
The bad one or the worst one?
Depends what you consider bad.
So a little bit of history. At some point fairly recently, Gainax, I guess, called for the English dubs and subs to be completely redone and much closer and more literal, and have resisted just about any suggestion to the contrary. Now, that part we know is true. Why it happened is up to some speculation and rumor, but what I heard and what I believe is that apparently, during an American screening of the third movie, 3.33 you cannot something with not in brackets.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, a lot of the English-speaking audience was making in-jokes and laughing during it, because, as I mentioned before, Evangelion is, whether or not you like it, fucking absurd. So, I don't think, even if you enjoy Eva, I don't think it's a bad reaction at all to kind of smirk a little and laugh at the lunacy being presented before you. Apparently, some of the producers and whatnot in attendance were appalled and aghast. How dare these fucking gaijin not watch with quiet reverence our great storytelling? And called for a tightening up, if you will, of the sub and the dub. Now, I've seen some of the subtitles, and yeah, they're definitely a lot more rigid. And I've only heard of the dub also being very rigid.
Well, the dub we're listening to right now is... We're hearing the original voice actors from the last couple of movies.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the rigid dub you're talking about wasn't the same voice actors.
Oh, I'm not sure. All I know is that I'm just hoping that they I don't know what I'm hoping for in this, Dave. I'm obviously very angry today. I don't know why. I'm well rested. I'm well fed, even though we are trapped on international waters. And that storm cloud is that a UFO? This episode might get a lot more interesting before we're done. You know, I'm going to say this. The image of what I assume is Paris just covered in blood,
Florence,
or LCL, Florence, whatever, wherever the Eiffel Tower is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know. My geography knowledge is super high. The image of this and seeing these people working like this, different pilots than we're used to seeing, makes me wonder, in an alternate timeline where Ava was perhaps a little longer and a little better than what it was,
Mm-hmm.
if seeing various teams around the world wouldn't have been a much more interesting program, an interesting show, with you have like a Japan group, a France group, an Edmonton, Alberta group, and to see how all of them handle their various problems. That might have been a rather fascinating bit of programming in another reality that would not be.
Well, and I mean, they did learn a little bit from their mistakes when they started doing some of the side story manga stuff.
Sure.
That were in alternate realities and everything else, alternate storylines, where, you know, the entire class was supposed to be eligible Ava pilots, and they started actually bringing in a lot more pilots, and therefore had a larger diversity. I like your idea of having multiple teams across the globe rather than, again, just being centered around Japan, because, you know, center of the Aniverse.
And that's... Here's the thing, that doesn't bother me as much as it used to, because watching enough American programming where America is the center of the universe, and Canadian programming, which it's up its own ass about Canada, it makes me realize, who cares? It doesn't matter.
We are all centric on certain locations being your primary. You work with what you know.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, there are exceptions, obviously, but in general, that's where you go with. But it would have made a lot more sense in a threat that was going to take out Earth, that it wouldn't just be one organization in one place.
In Hideaki Anno's credit, and I'll give him some credit, he was rushed. He was under a lot of pressure. Maybe he should have been given the time to realize his full vision.
Absolutely. It's... I
mean,
mean,
a lot of my hate for Ava comes from the fact that it probably could have been alleviated if it just had more time and less pressure from people, from executives.
And hadn't gone back on it. Because, I mean, I will admit, and I've said this in previous podcasts where this topic has come up, I thought Ava started strong in the first few episodes. Because, I mean, hey, new idea, new threat, everything else, cool. Started to dive around episode 7, recovered somewhere around episode 12 to 15. I thought was doing quite strong, right up to the point that, you got into the last couple episodes and Shinji finally, went through his mental issues and, okay, we're past all the bullshit, let's do this. And then nosedived and slammed right into a wall with the movies. In the original movies.
In my ideal alternate reality, the episode of the original series where Kouru is killed is the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And then we continue from there.
Yeah. No, like, Ava really could have been seasonal and have gone somewhere fantastic. But, again, he was rushed.
And then he decided to make it a little too cerebral, very meta in ways that are dumb. You can be too meta in your fiction.
Yeah. I do like her line, though, about only Ava pilots should be wearing these suits.
Oh, I wouldn't mind wearing them. I don't mind what I'm looking at.
Okay, now, I gotta say, I am digging the aesthetic as far as, the battleships, the hovering, like, it's neat what they're doing here.
This is an imaginative piece of shit. I will say that much.
I'm not gonna say it's shit as of this point.
No, we know it is. We know it is!
I'm not gonna say that until it hits that point. How much longer are they gonna waste our time here?
Believe it or not, I'm actually okay with this kind of showing the family life of Toji and Kensuke and having Shinji just being very unresponsive to it all. I actually, believe it or not, I kind of dug what we just saw.
Okay. Sorry. That came across harder than what I meant. I'm digging that they're showing us, life after Third Impact. We're seeing, characters that we didn't know were alive or anything else. I get that Shinji has things to go through, but for fuck's sakes, this is why I didn't like a good chunk of the end of the first season, is because he was stuck in this mode for fucking ever.
When you say the first season, did you mean 1.11? Or did you mean...
I mean the original TV show.
The first and only season. It's what something Ado likes to do to Shinji, right?
I know, and I
which I think works sometimes. One of the best scenes I liked in these movies is when he ran away from Masato and was just kind of sleeping in an alley. I actually thought that was a really good thing. I actually really dug that.
Well,
that took me a little more into his mind than the original show ever did.
But, I mean, you and I both agreed in the last movie, in that first segment, that the way that they rescued him, and then, yes, they had a reason to, be angry with him and everything else, but they literally did everything wrong for how they dealt with him in those 5 fucking minutes they had him during that first encounter before he got away to Nerf.
Yeah, it's a little infuriating because the whole reason he was in that situation is because he was trying to save Asuka and everyone else. And for him to be treated so harshly just seems like, I hate using this term because every armchair storyteller does it online. It seems like bad writing.
I would have liked a little bit more of a frame of how long they were, walking away from the last... was it a day? Was it a week? Was it a month? Well,
I'm actually going to defend that. I think the fact that we don't know is good because it gives us a sense of foreboding how long it's been. That uncertainty, I think, is intentional and does work.
And it might. It's just, I know Shinji's character is that it takes him a long time to work through things. Mm-hmm. I get that. For fuck's sakes, yes, you woke up, or you got woken up from Third Impact. You've met a copy of Rave. Now you're meeting all these old friends that we don't know whether he knew they were alive or dead or even cared. Yes, he just went through another traumatic event because of his father again.
An extraordinarily traumatic event because he had to kill Kouru. Less directly than in the original show,
yes,
but he feels directly responsible for it.
Kouru took the bullet for him, basically.
Yeah.
And of course that's going to hurt Shinji even more. I see us going more and more and more back into the end of Eva beginning with how Shinji was, and I don't like it right now.
I hear you. Nothing that brings us closer to end of Eva is good. So.
Yeah. I'm digging the aesthetic they're going with. I really am. I'm not digging that Shinji's still in his mind space that he is. I get why it's there. I don't have to like it.
I don't like that they're trying to justify what Asuka's doing. Look, these days, my stance on mental illness and depression is that, yes, these are things we can't help, but we have to fight them. However, some people, including fictional character Shinji Ikari, is under extreme stress and is a little too far gone. You can't just punch him out of it. Kensuke had the right idea.
They still have not explained to him. Like, he's seen the ramifications. He's had a little bit told to him about what happened, but from the other viewpoint, he hasn't been told shit.
Yeah, I know. He's still...
All they did was slap a collar on him, say if you do anything, we're going to blow your head off. And then shit happened.
Yeah. And...
Like, she should also explain, why is she wearing a fucking collar?
This is another thing, too, why I always say Shinji is a hero and why I hate when people say he's not and when he acts out of character and stuff like End of Eva. He only vomited because of the thought of what the collar would do to Asuka.
Yeah.
Deep down, he still gives a shit about her. He's only in this position because he was trying to save her. Like, Christ.
Like, I don't...
Can we not be real humans to each other? I know they're kids, but come on.
I don't expect him to bounce back like, say, Midoriya from My Hero Academia.
No, Midoriya would have solved this problem immediately.
But they need to sit down with him, explain exactly why things the way they are, why she's got to blow her head off collar, and start trying to move things forward rather than just, kick him in the corner while he's down. And, like, even her revealing that she can't eat food anymore and that her body is stuck in time, basically, that's going to mess with Shinji's mind as well. Like, congratulations. Copy Ray here. I get that Ray is having to go through the exact same things.
I believe her name is Ray first.
I don't care.
It's not. That was a Phantasy Star.
Oh, was it?
Joke. Nay and Nay first.
Right.
Yeah.
But
fuck.
I mean, Ray having to relearn what makes a human and humanity makes sense.
Even if it's boring as shit.
However, and that's just where I was going. This is boring. This is not entertaining. This should literally be fast-forwarded through as you learned a whole bunch about everything today, hey?
This is what montages are for.
Yes.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of 3 of our reaction/review to Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 You Cannot Unwatch. Our website is animerave.xyz. And we should have part 2 of 3 up soon, trademark symbol. See you next time.